Patreon 149. There's going to be spoilers for all of the series I'm going to be talking about, so tread carefully. Awakened Saitama asks, if the speculated Platinum or Diamond S does become a real character, do you think he would be a boss fight? So I guess it's about time I make a video dedicated to this, since this theoretical character has been mentioned so much lately, given that Golden S has debuted in the manga. So let's go over him. I do think there's a real possibility that this character could emerge in the story, because in the manga it was strangely not mentioned what goes into the Golden S merger. A merger is mentioned by Black S in the manga. He doesn't really clarify like what exactly he's doing and what comes of it other than like a new being. And another thing that's not specified is the amount of Black S that it takes to create Golden S in the manga's continuity. In the webcomic, it's stated to be like a 10 trillion merger, somewhere around there, but there's no mention of any kind of figures like that in the manga, which makes me think that that was left out because it means that maybe they're setting up a stronger form than even Golden S. As I always say, the manga's continuity is constantly changing. I mean, we can just clearly see it ourselves if you have read both continuities of One Punch Man. For example, Vomited Pure Ugly. He's a brand new thing that none of us could have expected to happen, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of Diamond or Platinum S that comes out of this. And if he is formed, then that could be when the whole number stuff is talked about by Black S in the manga. And maybe Golden S gets retconned to a merger of like 1 trillion or something, or whatever Multi-S was. And speaking of Multi-S, he doesn't show up in the manga. He's kind of overshadowed by Golden S because in the webcomic, Multi-S shows up first, gets killed by Tatsumaki, then Golden S comes after that, but that doesn't happen in the manga. So like I said, Golden S could be replacing Multi-S, and a new 10 trillion merger could be Diamond or Platinum S. And I guess that would be the new opponent that Garo would have to push him to becoming awakened. But I'm not so sure if it's really going to play out that way, because Murata did say in his live stream like 2 years ago that Garo would evolve into Awakened Garo against Golden S, but that was 2 years ago, and you know, plenty of things have changed since then, so that could be one of them as well. But just in my opinion, I think it's way more likely for us to see Diamond S in the webcomic, because given how Black S's storyline is playing out, at least in my opinion, he is not being set up for a face turn or like a redemption. I think he's still one of the most hardcore villains in the series, and he's just biding his time to make his comeback. And when he eventually does, you know, rise to power again, I really wouldn't be surprised if he reveals his Diamond S form at that point, and then I guess everybody has to come together to fight him, except, you know, Saitama, because I'm sure he'll be out of the picture at that point. We could see the Hero Association and the Neo Heroes, if they're still around, take this new ridiculous beast on. Geruda asks, do you think Vegeta's new form could be the offensive version to Goku's Ultra Instinct? So I wouldn't necessarily put that label on it, since UI does have an offensive aspect to it, which Goku taps into once he does master Ultra Instinct. I think this new form is more so just a counterpart, if anything, to UI, just so that Vegeta has something. And I'm sure it will be more offensive than anything, also given Vegeta's fighting style. But I just figured that this form's gimmick is him using like Hakai energy orbs like Topo did. Sean H asks, I was wondering with the, I assume, little knowledge of Chainsaw Man you have, what are you expecting from it? So you're right, I do have little information on this series other than the trailer and just panels that I've seen on social media, but I'm expecting like a pseudo-seinen, cool, funny, violent type of series that's pretty intriguing. I'm not expecting it to be like completely original, but I do think that it will have some originality to it. Delamante asks, who is one real-life role model you have or the closest thing to one? So I don't really have any real-life role models, unfortunately, but some people that I do look up to are mainly like athletes. Like, for example, George St. Pierre. He's a former MMA world champion. I followed his career for like most of my life, and I just really look up to him. I read his books and everything, and I just think he's a really great guy, and a lot can be learned from him. Natedawg asks, what if All Might was much more staunch, and what if he killed All For One in their fight, and instead of capturing villains, he just killed them for the greater good? I think that would be pretty interesting, which I think would obviously take away from who All Might is as a character, but if he did have like this change, I think you're correct in assuming he wouldn't be as popular as he is, and definitely wouldn't be the symbol of peace, maybe more so the forced symbol of peace. But I think he would have more of a reception that like Endeavor does, maybe even colder than that, unless he's going against a Nomu or something. Dino W asks, could current manga Luffy take on the admirals? So taking them on, sure. power. I don't see why not. I mean, he was able to fight somewhat competitively against Kaido, and they're minimum on his level or right around it. So I'm sure he could take them on, but winning seems to be out of his grasp at this moment. Maybe that's more of an option after Wano, because he still is like mid power up at this point, I guess. Scottish Wolf asks, I was wondering if it's possible for Black S to become a hero. So it's absolutely possible that this could happen, but just in my opinion, I don't think it will. If you follow Black S's dialogue post Monster Association arc, I think it's being made clear that he's definitely still evil and still looking to, I guess, take over the world or something. If not that, he just doesn't have any altruistic goals in mind. He even says at one point, it's like around chapter 130 range, somewhere around 131, where he says, and I'm paraphrasing, that in order to defeat Saitama, you need cunning, since he can be tricked. And I'm assuming that meant that either Black S is going to be the one who uses cunning to defeat Saitama, not kill him, just get him out of the picture somehow, or he uses that knowledge to help a villain, a monster, or like just a foil to Saitama. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, he'll probably become like Diamond S or something eventually. First Wolf asks, what are your thoughts on the front hero in the International Hero silhouettes? When do you think he'll be revealed? I think he'll be revealed soon. I mean, the series is in its final act, so it's got to be within like the next 10 chapters probably. But as for my thoughts on him, I'm assuming that he's going to be, you know, upbeat in personality, or at least that's kind of the way he seems. Kind of like a All Might type maybe. And it seems like he has like Super Saiyan 3 hair with like a knuckle duster type of mask or something. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has like some kind of physical quirk. or something, because he also looks pretty muscular too. Little Ferrari asks, what are your thoughts on this Dragon Ball Super superhero movie? So I'm just really excited that we're getting this at all, and I kind of want to save my full judgments before the actual trailer gets dropped, because we've only seen teasers and, you know, character designs at this point, and I'm pretty sure this is taking place after the Granola and Moro arcs, or at least what time they would be taking place, because we see Pan and she's like, you know, 6 or 7 here, I guess. So quite a bit of time has definitely passed. Like, we might be in End of Z or after End of Z maybe. Wolfire54 asks, wanted to know if you started reading Berserk or not, and when you do get around with knowing the whole story, will you ever make a video about it? So I haven't read Berserk yet, not really sure when I'll do that, but I do have a feeling that I eventually will, and I for sure will make a video on it, definitely. Chance asks, would you be disappointed if the One Piece is the journey you went on with your crew? If not, what do you think it should be or is? So I think most of us would be disappointed if that was the case, but I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure Oda, in like an SPS or an interview or something, said that it's not that. So I guess we don't have to worry too much. But in my opinion, at least going off of the story so far, pretty sure that the One Piece is a bunch of poneglyphs and then maybe some like cliche treasure, you know? And then there's something there that made Roger's crew laugh. Probably the information that they were given and how things lined up maybe. Zapphod B asks, do you think Over and Rover will show back up in the current fight in the manga? So I really wouldn't be surprised if he shows up in the next chapter, as I always say in these Q&As, and then it actually happens. But I don't think he'll be fighting. It seems like he's probably already shrunk maybe, so he might have reverted all the way back to his pup form. If not, I would really be surprised if he's like still somewhat big and fighting, because that would lead the question of like, is he going to be fighting heroes or the cadres, because it seems like he's had a face turn at this point, or at least with him being subservient to Bang. And I know that that's because of all the training that he's been through and whatnot, but I think he should probably just show up at the end of the arc or right after it's over, like how it did in the webcomic. StarReaper asks, could you see a scenario where Stain ends up mentoring Deku this time around if Class 1A doesn't bring him down? Not like an ongoing mentorship, but maybe sits him down and gives him a little wisdom. So I think this would be pretty cool, but I don't really see Stain like mentoring anyone or even having the capacity to do that. But at the minimum, I do think that he's going to have a conversation with Izuku, regardless if he's mentoring him or giving him wisdom or something. XXPurpledranksippaxX asks, where do you think Genos ranks in terms of overall strength in comparison to the rest of the S class? So Daedric Genos, or current manga Genos, seems to be, you know, somewhere around the top 10 of the S class. I don't see why not. And when he does like his full power for like the 10 seconds, then he's like top 4, top 5 maybe. And then webcomic Genos, really hard to say because we haven't seen him in battle yet, but given his previous form where he fought those 3 dragons from the organization, I'm assuming he's got to be top 4, top 3, top 5 for sure. Samurai asks, I feel like Darkshine hasn't done really anything significant at all except getting used as a punching bag to establish the cadres. Is the manga downplaying his durability and strength? So yes, it is. And I think it's just setting up Darkshine for like this huge arc that he's eventually going to have. And they initially set up Darkshine for this purpose. Like he's been set up as this big unstoppable titan who's like completely full of themselves, but still like a pretty altruistic hero at the same time. But also showing that he's kind of been a bully and untested, and that has led to him getting exposed here, which also makes him a nice jobber considering that he's probably a high dragon, but also, like I said, is setting up his eventual big character arc that he's going to have either at the end of the Neo Heroes arc or in the God arc. Jonathan S asks, could EC Genos defeat Jagan/Evil Eye? So that's a good question, because Evil Eye was a pretty powerful Esper, like above demon, maybe low dragon possibly. So if EC Genos could defeat Jagan, it would be like pretty high diff. That's pretty much it for the video today, guys. I want to thank all of my patrons for continuing to support me the way that you have. I really appreciate it, guys. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, simply check out the link in the description. $5 will give you access to this video. But other than that, if you haven't subscribed already, please do that, and have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.